Welcome to the very first show, episode 0 of the Resilient Living Podcast. My name is Adrian Babashoff, and I am your host for these shows. And today I just want to give you guys a runabout of what the show's about and what you can expect to get out of it. I want to start off with how these shows are created. They're created here. First of all, they are going to be displayed on YouTube, and they will be displayed anywhere where you listen to your podcast. But I broadcast live from my vehicle. This is the first episode, so I wanted to keep this one nice and clean for you guys. But it's a 96 F350 7.3 liter diesel pickup truck, crew cab. And this is where I consider this my mobile studio. I do run another podcast. I run a YouTube channel and all kinds of other things and businesses. So I have to try to place everything where I can. And I do them live here in my mobile studio. So sometimes you'll hear the background noise. Please excuse that. I just want to see if this type of show is going to get some momentum before we actually get ourselves and invest in maybe some better quality audio and maybe a little studio or something like that. But this is called the Resilient Living Podcast. And that's what it's about, is making do with what you have. So next up, I just want to kind of run through things for you guys here. About me is I own my own business. I am an entrepreneur. I do like to talk about blue collar work, 9-to-5ers, entrepreneurship, all kinds of different things. I'm here to help pretty much, I would say, a very wide range of people. I think let's go into why you would listen maybe to someone like me. And I think the reason why is that I've coined my life as a alternative lifestyle design. We've got a lot of bad things out there, a lot of good things, mainly bad right now. And we call it lifestyle design. Somebody designing your life, or you designing your life. And that's the way it works. When you don't have enough money or certain things happen in the world, your life kind of gets designed for you. So resilient living is when you're able to create your own life. So a little bit more about me incorporated with this notion here is that I've been able to get myself into a survival mode, and I've been able to get myself a emergency funds. So that's when I looked at in my life. What did I need? And I know that each person's lives are individual, so I just like to share my stories and my philosophies with you, and hopefully that helps people to get motivated and figure out where to go. So mine was, can we get rid of the stress? Can we lower this down? And what is stressing me? And a lot of it was money. So what I decided to work on getting out of debt. I got out of debt. I started working on, I want an emergency fund. I want 3 months. I achieved that. Then I want 6 months. And then I was like, you know what? While we're at it, let's just do a year. So I've been doing all of these things, and now we're at a point where I can literally sit home for about 3 years, I believe at this point, and not do anything. And I'd be absolutely broke. But the feeling of having that kind of financial backup, and that's just, consider myself a thousandaire, not a millionaire. I'm a regular Joe Schmo. That's who I think I'm appealing to, although I think that I can offer something to the very wealthy. I think that I have some ideas and things. A lot of things, when I do research, I have the same philosophies that they do. I just don't have the money yet. Or I haven't positioned myself for that money yet. But that's another podcast, another time. But what's probably good to say is that I have 2 children, and instead of devoting my time towards chasing the dollar and becoming a millionaire, I actually choose to live very simple. So after I got my emergency funds and things like that, I only work like 8 to 9 months out of the year. I call these mini retirements. I looked it up, and actually I'm not the one who've coined it. Some other people have done this as well. But instead of going after millions of dollars, what I've decided to do is actually have fun with my kids. So I'm a single dad. Also, I do have a special needs younger daughter. So a lot of my time is taken up 7 days a week. I'm only able to work 5 days a week in 6-hour intervals, and I have to get home to take care of both my kids. So I get to work 5 days a week for 6 hours a day, and I work 8 to 9 months out of the year. I take the rest of the 3 to 4 months, and I just fart around with my kids. I take them camping way out in the mountains. I decided to enjoy life with them and also enjoy life for myself, because we're going to get into these in future episodes, is when you take a long, prolonged break like that, instead of just like a week to 2 weeks, boy, you actually come back wanting to go to work. So it actually motivates and you have so much time. You actually completely forgot about it for a while, and I understand that a lot of people don't have these abilities to do this, some of the things that I've done, but I just want to say, man, it is, if you can, your life will change. You start to come up with ideas and implementations and things like I've come up with that made me money. So I made money by taking off time not making money. But yeah, I've chosen that kind of path right now. So a lot of the show moving forward, I want to talk about success. I want to talk about things that are good in bad times or good times, meaning that these are interchangeable. We would do these things because they're good for the earth, right? We're very earth conscientious here, resilient living, much into sustainability and things like that. So we want to hit all the notes. We want to be able to save money. We want to have emergency preparedness and stuff like that. But we want to practice things that are great for us. Whether we're in a recession, not a recession, times get bad, times don't. What are things that we can do and incorporate in there? So let's talk about a couple of those things that we can do. The very first one is you could become a consumer instead of a producer. And I think that's probably one of my biggest things that I've got going on in my life is, and it's not just physical goods. Well, I guess money's physical goods, but energy and things like that. So consumer, what I do is, it may add up to little things. You may look at these and go, well, that's not a lot. But I make my own chemical-free hand sanitizers and diaper sprays and cleaners, and I do many different things that I produce for myself. It doesn't take that much. I produce a lot of my own food through my gardening, my biodegradable container gardening invention and techniques that I do. I have a garden where I don't even have to be there but once a week to check on things, and most of my work after planting is harvesting. So that's what I mean is becoming a consumer, so producing your own stuff, because I think that's the bottom line with what I see wrong with a lot of that's going on right now with humanity is a lot of us are stuck being a consumer, and we're looking we're like dependent on it. And when these systems fall, which I think in this time have, and they start to crack, they affect us all. And we're still sitting here with our handouts, not necessarily me, but, probably not necessarily you, but a lot of people, they're just sitting there going, when's help going to arrive? So there's those of us who want to get out of that. Some of us are already out. And I think that's the mentality and the philosophy of become a producer of your own life, a producer of your own. I would say moving beyond physical goods like money and things like that is actually your own motivation, your own magic in your mind, your creativity. A lot of people need to go to say things like Tony Robbins, I think his name is, Tony Robbins, and they need to get motivated, right? A lot of people need to try and do all these things to get motivated. Well, what would happen if we were able to teach you to motivate yourself? And that's what happens with this show. A lot of things that I've tried, like the mini retirements, like having more than enough emergency funds, and then having that time to really suck back away from everything and go, what do I really want to do? Or I want to do a lot of different things. Well, let's go do them all. You get that motivation, you get that creativity flowing. So teach a person to fish, and you fed them for life. Don't give them a fish because all you did was fed them. So that's life for the rest of us. I have next on my notes here. And I think that there's a lot of millionaires. This is not a millionaire podcast. This is not how to get rich, although I think that it could set you up for that. Because as I said, if one was able to live under the wire like I do, to simplify your life so far down and be able to make enough money where you can take 3 years off and say you believed in something so much and you were smart enough to get some residual incomes and things coming in so you didn't have to work. But you didn't start out in this big old mansion. You started off in this very tiny house, right? In a tiny house. And you exercised all your creativity and all your ideas. And I do believe that someone who would want to become a millionaire could have the time and perspective to sit back and look at the macro and go, what do I need to actually be a millionaire? Now, it's not my game. What I talk about, I think, is life for the rest of us, meaning that a lot of us just aren't those type of people. I think money has its own language. It takes a lot of stress. I've personally, and just my opinions, and these are all my opinions on this show from here on forward, is that it's very difficult to find somebody who has everything, where they have the health, the wealth, the happiness, and everything's really good. They don't have the stresses and things like that. I choose to be a thousandaire for the time being, and meaning that, I'm saving, but I'm enjoying my life while I still have my youth, and I think I'm pretty happy, and I'm a lot less stressed than most people that I see around. So life for the rest of us. A lot of us can't be rich. I don't think a lot of us want to be rich. I don't think there's room enough. So this is a show for the majority of people who aren't either dirt ass poor or filthy rich. We're just in the middle, kind of going, how do I get what I want, basically? So that's what I'm here for, the life for the rest of us. So we're going to talk a lot about tiny living. I live in an RV trailer. I consider that a tiny house, but I bought it for a fraction. But we're going to talk about things like that, like tiny living. And that goes beyond everything, not just the tiny house, just living tiny in general. I want to talk about essentialism. And I want to take a focus here real quick on all of the different things that we have out there. It's almost like it's a religion or a group, a class of, it's like what I said here, essentialism and minimalism. It's like, no, you're not a minimalist if you don't do this. I started joining some Facebook groups and things like that, and there was people literally saying if they frame their diploma, does that count as being a minimalist? Like, they're asking for opinions and things like that. Granted, I think some people are bored and need to ask questions like this, I guess, to get some sort of something. But when I looked at this, it was like, no, we don't want to compartmentalize things. Like I said, everybody's lives are different. We want to just explore, like on this show, we want to explore unbiasedly all these different things, such as essentialism, which is what's just essential in your life. What are the things that you need? It could be medium living, could be large living, or it could be minimalism. And you get to design however you want. So we're taking the best of all the things that are out there, and we're combining these all together. And that's what you'll see on the future of the show, is a bunch of tools to help you live the life that you want to live. And you get to just pick and choose what it's like a candy store. I think another good point I'd like to bring out here, I don't have on my notes for this first show, is that I'm a single dad, as I said, and I really don't have a life. I have a life. I do things different. I don't watch TV. I'm not a normal human being that goes to movies. I don't know when's the last time I've been to a movie. In fact, I don't even know when's the last time I actually watched a movie from beginning to end. I don't do that. I research all the time. It's like I'm obsessed and I love it. And that's the thing, is I wake up in the morning. One of my favorite times is to go to bed and put YouTube on, or read a book, or just sit and think and develop ideas. Like, I've got so much going on, like my farming business and my gardening and things. Like, how can I change that? I come up with so many ideas. Like, for instance, I came up with an idea to line up gutters and fill them full of my special soil that I've made, and then put my strawberries in there. And what'll happen is all the strawberries will hang over the sides, and it's probably already been done, but run these little gutter systems up high, and then everything will droop down like a strawberry waterfall. And I was like, yeah, I want to develop this. So those kind of things. So survivalism is another one. I think that a lot of us live in areas where things can happen, If you're living in tornado zone or earthquake zone. I live in Sunnyside, California, in San Diego, and we have earthquakes and stuff like that. And we are under the tsunami warning over here, although I think it's not quite as bad as like up north, like Seattle and Oregon and stuff like that. But there's almost, no matter where we go in the world, there's always some natural disasters, and it pays off, as we were talking about, to do things for yourself, whether times are good or bad, and utilizing things. So one of the examples I learned is that when I say survivalism, is that you copy can. You go buy canned food that's on sale, and then you stock it up, right? So you buy one, get one free. Every time you get that, you get as much as your heart desires, right? But we also I've got a freezer, and I keep my freezer full of different meats and vegetables and healthy foods and things like that. I also take a storage of seeds so that I can grow my own food. But the thing I want to bring out here is that most people will just do things like this. They'll go buy a bunch of stuff and they'll put it in a box, put it in the basement. Now, what we're going to do on this show with many things. This is one of the philosophies. We're going to buy stuff that we're already using. Like, for instance, for me, I'll stock up on spaghetti noodles and spaghetti sauce. And in my freezer, I have a whole bunch of seal and milled ground hamburger and bison meat and stuff like that. So what I'll do, all I need is those 3 ingredients, and I've got spaghetti. So what I'll do is I'll buy, say, like 6 bottles of spaghetti sauce, and I'll line them in my pantry. And I'll also line up the noodles. And as I start to use one, I start to pull it from the front. I push the rest from the back towards the front. And when I start getting down to like 3 bottles or so, I immediately go and replace that with another bottle. So it's like a restaurant. Hopefully that marks it out. So yeah, as you guys can probably see, we get a system of rotation where we're not wasting any food. We're going to buy what we're already using anyways. Ketchup, mayonnaise, all these different things. And that's our backup. So that way we're using things and we're not wasting any. So that's when we're talking about survivalism. I would like to know if you guys would like to talk about self-defense. If you guys would like to talk about energy savings, I guess, like collecting gas in case of emergencies and stuff like that. And again, what I've learned in survivalism is maybe you want to get yourself like 6 gas cans, and you're going to mark them every second month of the year. You're going to go and dump that gas into your car tank, and then you're going to take that gas tank, put it in the trunk or the back of your truck, and when you go fill up your tank, you're going to fill that up too, and you keep that in rotation. So you're always using the gas anyways. It's not like you're not using stuff. I want to know if you guys want to hear about stuff like that. So it's definitely sustainable living. I think sustainable living is more popular than resilient living. The reason why I chose resilient living is that the difference from sustainability, in my opinion anyways, is that something's able to be built up and then sustained. Whereas in life, I think that we have a lot of bombardment. We have a lot of things that can happen. There's always switches and things turning around. So resiliency is the definition, is when you can stretch something like a rubber band. You know, you pull it and it has the strength to go right back to its original form. So it could be damaged. It could be beat up on. You know, it could go through hard weathers and hard times and everything, and it still holds its resiliency. So that's why I've picked the Resiliency Living podcast. But we're going to talk a lot about, they're both interchangeable to me. They're both the same thing. Sustainable living. Permaculture is another one that we're going to mention a lot on this show. And permaculture is basically growing your own food, farming, and everything in harmony with nature. And one of the very first, there's many lessons that we can learn from permaculture, but one of the best ones that I've applied to my life, and there's so many, I just ain't got time to tell them all here, is stacking functions. And stacking functions in permaculture is just something like, let's talk about chickens are probably the best. You're going to want to get something in your life, and we're going to apply this philosophy of permaculture into life in general. You're going to get a chicken. And what is this chicken going to do? Let's look at the very first thing. If you had a nice, say, an acre of land and you got yourself like 5 chickens, you're going to put them in these little paddocks, these little tiny square areas, and they're going to eat all the weeds and seeds and bugs for you, and you're not going to feed them anything. You're going to give them table scraps and stuff like that. Well, what's going to happen is they're going to de-weed that portion of the land for you, and they're getting that land's providing their own food for them, so we're stacking functions. They're also pooping on the ground in little segments, in little places, instead of big giant areas. And what do chickens like to do? They like to scratch, so they're spreading their manure lightly. And what you're going to do is every day, every week or so, you're going to keep moving them like a quilt blanket, and you're going to move them in different places of the land. And these chickens are actually going to help you clear out that land. So say you can start a garden. So they got rid of all the weeds, a lot of the bugs. You can even bring these chickens into your garden with chicken runs and things like that, and they'll eat the bugs for you. And now it just so happens that these chickens lay a thing called an egg, and you get to eat that and make an omelet. You also get yourself a rooster, and when these chickens lay eggs, they'll actually start to multiply. You start out with 5. Within your first year, I guarantee you're probably going to go up to like 30, 40 chickens. So they keep reproducing. You're able to eat the meat, have the eggs. You're going to get yourself a big giant compost pile for your garden. And what you're going to do is you're going to let the chickens go to that big ass compost pile and just kind of spread stuff around for you, because they love doing that stuff. So now they spread everything for you, and they're also adding fresh tiny amounts. So you see how this is called stacking functions. It does so many different things that it just puts more value into your life. So I really, really like that, the concept of stacking functions. Now, my last note here before I end the episode 00 here, the very first one is money. And I think that's what a lot of us are needing. And as I said, I think it's got its own language. Money has its own terminologies and definitions of things, and it's so intricate. And we need to design something for the rest of us, for life for the rest of us, as I said earlier. And I think that it takes a basic understanding of money and what our relationships are. And I think that a lot of the things that we have are backwards. A lot of the things that are interpretations of what money is, how it's made, and how we should spend it. I'm going to come right out the gate here and say that I am very, very much not a proponent of public education. And I think it fails to teach us all about how to stay out of debt. What is debt? How to make money? How to manage money? What is the language of money? How to invest? How to not invest? What is inflation? What are all of these things here? And it seems to me the reason why I really don't like what's going on with our education systems right now is that these are some of the biggest fundamentals. Our jobs as parents, as teachers, is to develop these young people to be able to go out in life and fend for themselves. How are they going to fend for themselves if they're broke? How are they going to fend for themselves when a lot of people my age, mid-40s, back when they started out, they went to college and spent, if they didn't have a rich mommy and daddy, funding them, they were already in debt before they even got a job, 60, 70, 100 something $1,000. So, and then those jobs aren't there. And those are the kind of things that I look at that I want to talk about. And I think that we need to understand, but for layman's terms and to keep it simplified, I think that if we become more producers, if we produce more stuff in our life, we don't have to be those consumers. So there's a happy medium, I think. But money pretty much makes our world go round. And I think that we need to focus a lot on it. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. It's Resilientlpodcast at gmail.com. I believe so, yeah. Resilient, the letter L, podcast at gmail.com. There'll always be my contact forms in the descriptions below, and that way you guys can let me know what you guys think. But I told you guys everything that's in the show. I'll talk about just a few last things that aren't going to be in the show. I do not want to discuss religion. I think that's for each individual, for their own personal space to do what they need to do. I don't want to start any ruckus and fights and stuff like that. World's, crazy enough. We don't need more of that. I also don't want to talk about politics at all on the show, about presidencies and terms and things that are going on. We want to talk a lot more about solutions. I don't want to talk really a lot about problems, and I'm not here to scare people into submission. And I think that that's one thing you're not going to find on the show too, is that a lot of people out there are utilizing a lot of these scary things out there, and we're in the age of information, and a lot of people can go and pick, as I talked about earlier in the show, how we take the best of the best. We apply that towards good things. Well, there's people out there that take the best of all these horrible things, and they're able to apply those into a podcast or a TikTok video or a YouTube video where they just got all the compelling evidence but didn't look at everything unbiasedly, put this together where when you watched it, you went, oh my goodness, this is pretty bad. This is crazy. And you're not going to find that here. They're utilizing paranoia to sell you something to get more views. I want to be down to earth, completely honest with you guys. There's no way that I can't be honest. I'm a horrible liar. But that's the show, guys. I've been blabbing off enough. So I am so excited to get this off the ground. And I hope that the background noise in the future doesn't bother you guys. I'm all over the place. I've got to try to get these shows out whenever I can. So we're going to try to also, we're going to go at least 3 times a week. We're going to aim for 5, but for now we're going to try 3 days a week. So why don't we try to aim from here on forward as Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So guys, that's the show. I'm going to end these shows something like this. Go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. And human up, my friend.